Hey everybody, welcome back. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody's staying safe. I'd like to thank my latest subscribers, Jim and Katie, and they recommended a interesting topic to cover today, comparing fractions. So let's begin. So if we look at fractions, for example, 1/2 and 1/3, and I ask which one's bigger, is 1/2 bigger than 1/3, or is 1/3 bigger than 1/2? Remember, this symbol means greater than, so we're implying if I write 2 is greater than 1. And this symbol means less than, so we're saying 1 is less than 2, or 2 is greater than 1. And of course, this symbol is equality, or 1 equals 1. So let's revisit our original question. Is 1/2 less than 1/3? Or is 1/3 greater than 1/2? We could draw a number line and say 0 to 1, and we could split it in half, so this would be 1/2. And we can then split it in half, so this would be 1/4, and this would be 3/4. So from here to here is a quarter, we add another quarter, we get a half, we add another quarter, we get 3/4, and finally we add another quarter, we get 1. So from here we can see that 1/2 is greater than 1/4, and 3/4 is greater than 1/2. But it still doesn't tell us, is 1/3 greater than 1/2, or is 1/2 greater than 1/3, because we don't really know where 1/3 falls on this number line. We could use a calculator and say, okay, 1/2 equals 0.5, and 1/3 equals 0.333. And we can see that, indeed, 0.5 is greater than 0.333. And this tells us that 1/2 is greater than 1/3. However, another way, a more systematic way, is to look at lowest common multiple of fractions to determine which fraction is bigger. So again, let's revisit 1/2 and 1/3. So to get the lowest common multiple, or LCM, of 2 and 3, which is the denominator of the two fractions, well, 4 is a multiple of 2 but not of 3. 12 is a multiple of 2 and 3, and also 6 is a multiple of 2 and 3. But 6 is the lowest common multiple, so we pick 6. So what we write is, we write 1/2 equals something over 6, and 1/3 equals something over 6. So 2 goes into 6 3 times, and 3 times 1 is 3. 3 goes into 6 2 times, and 2 times 1 is 2. Or another way of looking at it is, this is 1/2 would need to be multiplied by 3 over 3, which is, on the top we have 3 times 1, and on the bottom we have 3 times 2, which is 3 over. Similarly, for 1/3, to get something over 6, we would need to multiply that by 2 over 2. On the top we'd have 2 times 1, which is 2, and on the bottom 3 times 2, which is 6. So essentially we've converted 1/2 to 3/6 and 1/3 to 2/6. Now, since the denominators are the same, 3/6 and 2/6, all we need to do is look at the numerators, and we can see that 3 is bigger than 2, so 3 over 6 is bigger than 2 over 6, which would imply that 1/2 is greater than 1/3. What about if we wanted to compare 1/2 1/3, and 1/4. Again, we need to look at the lowest common multiple of the denominators. The denominators are 2, 3, and 4. 2, 3, and 4. So we already found out that 6 was the lowest common multiple of 2 and 3, but now we have 4 as well. And 4, unfortunately, doesn't go into 6, so we need to find another number. Well, what about 8? Well, 2 and 4 go into 8, but not 3. Let's try 12. 12. So we need to write 1/2 as something over 12. 1/3 as something over 12, and 1/4 as something over 12. So how do we get the numerators? So 2 goes into 12 6 times, and 6 times 1 is 6. 3 goes into 12 4 times, and 4 times 1 is 4. 4 goes into 12 3 times, and 3 times 1 is 3. Now we can say, by comparing the numerators, that 6 over 12 is greater than 4 over 12, which is greater than 3 over 12. And 6 over 12, remember, is 1/2. 4 over 12 is 1/3. And 3 over 12 is 1/4. So 1/2 is greater than 1/3, which is greater than 1/4. Let's look at another problem. For example, I wanted to compare 2/5 and 1/3. Again, what we need to do is find the lowest common multiple of the denominators, 5 and 3. Or 3 and 5. Or in other words, we need to find a number in which both 3 and 5 go into. So it's 15. So we need to write 2/5 as something over 15 and 1/3 as something over 15. Now 5 goes into 15 3 times, and 3 times 2 is 6. 3 goes into 15 5 times, and 5 times 1 is 5. That's how we get the numerators. So now we can compare 6 over 15 and 5 over 15. And which one's bigger? Well, because we have the same denominators, 15, we just look at the numerators, 6 and 5. And we say that 6 over 15 is bigger than 5 over 15. And 6 over 15 is really 2/5. And 5 over 15 is 1/3. So we can say that 2/5 is greater than 1/3. To finish off, let's look at another example. Suppose I had 3/5 and 4 over 7. Again, we need the lowest common multiple of the denominators, which is 5 and 7. So one way of getting the lowest common multiple is taking the bigger number and finding the multiples of that number. So 7, 14, 21, 28, and 35. And stopping when we find which number both numbers go into. So 5 doesn't go into 7, 5 doesn't go into 14, 5 doesn't go into 21, 5 doesn't go into 28, but 5 does go into 35. So 35 is the lowest common multiple of 5 and 7. So what we need is to write 3/5 as something over 35, and 4 over 7 as something over 35. And 5 goes into 35 7 times. And 7 times 3 is 21. That's how we get the numerator. And 7 goes into 35 5 times, and 5 times 4 is 20. So now we compare 21 over 35 and 20 over 35. And which one's bigger? Well, we look at the numerator, 21 and 20. 21 is bigger than 20. So 21 over 35 is bigger than 20 over 35. This brings us to the end of the lesson. Thank you very much for watching. Please click like, subscribe. Take care. Have a great day. Stay safe. See you next time.